at this time, we're going to go ahead and open up call to the public. Call to the public for public comment on issues within the jurisdiction of the town council. Council rules limit public comment to 3 minutes. Individual council members may respond to criticism made by those commenting, may ask staff to review a matter raised, or may ask that a matter be placed on a future agenda. However, members of the council shall not discuss or take action on any matter during an open call to the public unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action. I do have one this evening so far. At this time, Mr. Terry Tryon. And the topic is truck outdoors.
Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, the truck outside is I would say new, but it's not brand new, abatement truck program. We've partnered with Pinal County Sheriff's Office to eliminate all the graffiti that's through town. So Pinal County fixed the truck, made it operable again. So when we need it, we can go pick it up. Our guys will be trained how to use it. We'll go pick it up and address any graffiti issues within the town of Florence. So.
That's excellent. Great partnership.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other call to the publics at this time? With that, we're going to go ahead and close call to the public. Our first presentation is the results of the 2019 Florence Peanut Butter and Jelly Challenge. At this time, Councilmember Cortez, will you join me down at the bottom podium? All right, the Peanut Butter and Jelly Drive. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been epic. As you know, in Pinal County, there's a statistic. 1 in 4 homes have children that are hungry. They don't have access to the food that they need. So this partnership was brought to us at the July 1st council meeting. Braden Biggs came up with the United Way and made a presentation about the Peanut Butter and Jelly Drive to the community. At that meeting, Councilmember Cortez said, I want to make a challenge. I want to challenge everybody to bring forward and bring in as many jars of peanut butter and jelly as we can. She may have alluded to wanting to have a trophy right on the corner of her desk. Now, we all know that that trophy will end up going over to FUSD, but it doesn't hurt for a while, especially when we're making these contributions. This is a team effort that came about with a partnership of the United Way, Florence Unified School District, and the Greater Florence Chamber of Commerce in conjunction with all businesses, residents, and citizens. So I want to say thank you, because without everybody's participation, that wouldn't have happened and this wouldn't have been possible. I will say, and you're going to hear this number a few times tonight, I was a bit taken back when I had first heard the total. Because our challenge, first of all, was to beat Apache Junction and Casa Grande. Apache Junction, I believe, had 849. Casa Grande had 1,250. 2,100. But our challenge was 2,500. So our challenge was 2,500. Last night, we had some council members, Councilmember Wall, Councilmember Larson, Councilmember Cortez, myself, we had staff members, and we were arranging all this prettiness right here. And we thought we had a great number last night, let me tell you. We were pretty proud of it. Boy, I came in tonight, it doubled. The number is 6,304 jars of peanut butter and jelly. So with that, I just want to first thank our sponsors, Our sponsors are, and I'm going to call you up in a moment for a certificate, but hang on. Florence Chamber of Commerce, United Way, Town of Florence, and Florence Unified School District. All of the donations that you're going to hear from tonight came from Core Civic, APS, Total Concept, Sun City Anthem, Parkside Anthem, Florence Gardens, Caliente, Safeway, Bucks for Style, Florence Fudge Shop, DOC, Iman Complex, ALA PCSO, Pinal County Uniforms, Mosaic Church of the Nazarene, Mount Athos, American Legion No. 9, Gila Valley 9, and American Masonic Lodge, Hart J Ranch, Town of Florence Officers, Florence Copper, Clark's Bees, RNS Service and Supplies, and Sun Valley Solar. So let's give everybody a round of applause, please. So I just want to take a moment to present 4 certificates, and then I'm going to turn it over to Councilmember Cortez, who has a speech and some other delights. Our first certificate is with deep appreciation to the United Way of Pinal County, Mr. Braden Biggs. Thank you. Our second certificate is to the Greater Florence Chamber of Commerce. Our third certificate is to the Florence Unified School District. And I do have a 4th certificate, and she's not expecting it right now, but Councilmember Cortez.
Okay, you would not think I'd be nervous because I sit up there, but this is like different. It's like all eyes on you. Okay, so community. I'm so nervous.
She wrote the most
I
amazing
know,
speech.
I'm so nervous.
Come on, ready? You want to read a line? I'll read a line. Oh, goodness.
I'm too nervous, and then when I get nervous and excited, all my emotions come out, and so we're not going to do that today.
All right, well, you jump in anytime. Community, what does that mean to you? To me, it is the neighbor lady watching the kids playing outside from her porch. Not because any of them are hers, but because they are the neighborhood kids, and she's keeping them safe. It is the fire department stopping by a house just to check on the resident because they know that they're going through chemo. Community is knowing that in your time of joy, you have people to celebrate with, and in your time of need, you have somebody to hold you up. As you sit here and look at all of this peanut butter and jelly, I hope you recognize that this is our community, that this is each and every one of us noticing that there is a need and stepping up to fill that need. Not one person said no, not one person said I can't. Everyone found a way to show the strength and the pride of Florence. We stepped up and we said we can do this. Every single person has said how excited they are about the overwhelming outpour of support. Seasonal residents sent money or boxes. Residents from other cities in Arizona sent boxes of peanut butter and jelly. Kids who asked mom and dad to make a special run to the grocery store just for our drive, just for our community. From our residents to our business partners, we as a community made this drive a success. The number collect us helped us win the challenge, but as the outpouring love from everyone, every one of you that has shown everyone around us why the Florence community is the best community to live in. Our commitment to each other is unchallengeable.
6,304, unchallengeable. we're gonna put Knutson on the spot, and if you could tell everybody what the plan is for the peanut butter and jelly. I know what it is, but if he wants to say.
I eat a lot. No, we're going to, we have 9,700 kids in our district, so, you know, we're going to distribute this to them and maybe even open it up to the community. One of our challenges recently was to become an Amazon district. There's 2 districts in the state where Amazon delivers. Anytime you send something back, they don't resell it. So it just goes to a warehouse. And one of our warehouses is kind of filling up with Amazon stuff. So we're going to do some things to try and help some of our needy individuals in the community with that. Like the last shipment from Amazon was probably 5,000 things of hair product. And I'm sure there's lots of women in the community that could come and use that. But you know, we got 3 football teams at the high school level, and we have a very solid K-8 athletic program, and kids can eat. So this will definitely go to good use. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hey, are we ready? Yes.
Something with a certificate and.
Sheet.
Yes, you got it.
I need the sheet. Okay.
Sure.
Okay, so first we'd like to recognize Core Civic. And Core Civic, I won't give everybody's totals, but I'll give the ones that I can remember. Core Civic donated 1,409 jars. Yes. Oh, no, stand up. All right, the next one is APS. Thank you so much. All right, Total Concepts. And Total Concepts was in a challenge with Bucks for Style. And I'm not sure who won. I have to do the last minute count. I think they tied. Kim had to spend a little money today. All right, Sun City Anthem. And Parkside Anthem. Do you want to do them both?
You only get one.
You only get one cookie. Sorry. Florence Gardens. Come on up, Miss Judy. These do have peanut butter in them, so if you're allergic, don't take the offering. All right, Caliente. All right, Safeway. She is here, I know she is. Safeway was a big help not only in collecting for us, but they also were honoring sales prices even when you bought more than the 4 limit. Bucks for Style. Florence Fudge Shop. DOC. The Iman Complex. ALA PCSO. Oh, yeah, sorry. Pinal County Uniforms. Mosaic Church of the Nazarene. Mount Athos. the American Legion number 9, the Gila Valley Masonic Lodge, Hart J Ranch, Town of Florence officers, Florence Copper, Clark Spees, RS Service and Supply, Sun Valley Solar, yes, and the Town of Florence departments. And anyone else sitting in the audience who was kind enough to donate jars, we would love to also give you a certificate and a goodie as well. So come on up. And we want everybody in the picture. And for the last time, 6,304 jars.
Oh, shoot, the darn computer monitor is throwing my way. Well, I can't see a single jar of peanut butter.
I know. Y'all should be holding peanut butter. I said hold the jar.
Okay, there you go. Yes, yeah.
There we go.
All right. There.
Nice calling you.
I'm sorry, you have to follow that. I apologize.
All right, thank you so much. Our next presentation is Mr. Chrysalis on the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality Consumer Confidence Report.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. Tonight will be a brief presentation followed by ADEQ doing another brief presentation on the use of their website. Some of this is kind of born out of the questions we received last year as it relates to our CCR report, Consumer Confidence Report, as well as some of the one-on-ones we've had with council members. We thought this would be beneficial to the group, the public, again, for the people at home. This is something very important, very dear to the Department of, Water Department. So, again, tonight's presentation will be on the Consumer Confidence Report, CCR. ADQ stands for the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. Our mission is to protect and enhance public health and the environment in Arizona. To achieve this, we administer the state's environmental laws and delegate federal programs to prevent air, water, and land pollution and ensure cleanup. For, again, people recently in the news, we've seen, I think it's the Van Buren Superfund project that, again, is being spoken of. And again, there's a lot of talk about how ADEQ fits into that, the background of ADEQ. So very, very interesting information. One of the things that the development of ADEQ was the protection of our actual water aquifers. So that was one of the primary reasons started ADEQ. Again, that was in 1986, Environmental Quality Act of 1986. They carry out several core functions, including planning, permitting, compliance management, monitoring, assessment, cleanups, and outreach. The Consumer Confidence Report is essentially it's a report that covers all of the different things that we test for. It allows the public to see if we have any violations. It reports the minimum or maximum requirements of certain substances and then where we fit in there, and again, any of the violations. So the rule is intended to protect public health by providing educational materials to inform consumers about potential health risks pertaining to the quality, treatment, and management of their drinking water supply. So July 1st, the town must distribute the CCR to customers and state agencies covering January 1st to December 31st of the previous calendar year. So that is, and we'll get to that in a minute, that is the thing that the town mailed out. It is available at Town Hall. It is available at Public Works. It is available at the library. We have tons of extra hard copies available. It has been posted on the town's website. So anyone who wants to see this information, it's a click away or a short drive away. Again, we can email these if we have any requests. So there's several different ways this can be received. Again, October 1st, the town must submit proof of distribution to the state, and a community water systems serving 100,000 or more persons must also post this current year's report on a public accessible site on the internet. We already do that. And then all CWs must make copies of the report available upon request. We already do that. Public health benefits. So again, increased consumer knowledge of drinking water sources, quality, susceptibility to contamination, treatment, and drinking water supply management. A few times a year, we get phone calls again about whether it's air in the system, maybe coloration in the system. It's very rare on our residential side that we get these calls, but we have water line breaks, and so during the water line breaks, things settle out. We have to shut down the system, and then when we have to turn it back on, we have to flush all our hydrants. So these are kind of normal things that we see throughout the year during repairs. But if it's non-during repair, this would be something that, again, we would look into very carefully. We would send out one or more members of our team to evaluate a certain situation, and oftentimes it is the customer side as it relates to their water softener system there. So a lot of times we get calls and we're having to diagnose on the customer side of things there. But occasionally there are times where we have a legitimate problem on our side and we have to flush out a hydrant or what have you. Again, increased awareness of consumers to potential health risks so they make informed decisions to reduce those risks, including taking steps towards protecting their water supply. Again, increased dialogue between drinking water utilities and consumers to increase understanding of the value of drinking water, water supply services to facilities, consumer participation in decisions that affect public health. As you're aware, during our rate study, one of the things that we brought out was, again, a rate that promoted conservation as well as buying water credits. So those are things that, again, were part of an educational component in our CCR, and those are things that are very important for the public to understand the importance of not wasting our most valuable resource, especially in Arizona where we're a desert climate. Content requirements of a CCR, water system information, sources of water, definitions, detected contaminants, information and monitoring, compliance and other drinking water regulations, variants and exceptions if applicable, and required educational information. And this is a copy of our CCR. Hopefully everybody has seen it. This is just the cover page. So we essentially have done 4 of these after taking over. Previously, the town had worked with a consultant, and just prior to me being hired, we made a decision to take care of this in-house, and I think it's been a benefit. Again, it causes our personnel to look at and be involved in every single thing on the reporting side. It's been really good for, again, the team to have a certain level of, again, accountability to see how what we do on operations sometimes ends up in a report. So, again, information about what is water quality, again, vulnerability to water quality contaminant, and some of these even get into what happens if you live on a well, the same kind of things that happen. We get calls from people who are not on our system, but have a private well. So sometimes our staff members go out there, they are still residents, and quite honestly, sometimes not even residents, but we go out there to help evaluate their system to figure out what is causing these things. And so a lot of times, you'll see residents who either are on the fringe or in the county have a well that doesn't have a certain type of proper seal. They have rodents, vermins that are right around the well, and so those droppings end up in their water supply. And so a lot of times we're out there to help people who are not even on our water system. This is the section we discussed earlier with definitions, and here's all our water quality data. As of this particular cycle, we had 1 violation, and that violation was a clerical error. A certain bit of information did not make it to ADEQ in time. The testing had occurred. We were able to provide backup. The testing occurred, and we were in compliance. It was just a matter that it did not get to ADEQ in time. On our end, we accept the mistake. We're not here to blame anyone else, but the actual test was done in time. So that's been corrected, but it still has to be notated in the record that we had a clerical error. It was not submitted on time. There's an educational component as discussed, so we provide a little game for them to play. This is kind of common within the CCR. A little thing for maybe some of the younger people to kind of read through and get education started early on. And one thing I also wanted to talk about tonight that doesn't necessarily have to do with just the CCR, but this is our annual water report. I would guess, I don't know, about 8-9 pounds of paper. This covers every single test that is performed throughout the entire year, from every single meter that is done, from a residential 3/4 meter through a 8-inch compound meter. Everything is covered in here, from the pumping of our wells the water levels. This is extremely comprehensive, something I'm very proud of our staff to put together and submit every year. We don't submit the entire backup, but the backup is used for our superintendent, Tim Wainscott, and my review. So we review this independently from the admin side. And this here, again, covers every single thing that you can imagine, from how much water goes on turf to how much water goes for commercial, institutional, AKA prisons, schools, and government facilities. And then we also are tracking and monitoring how much water our wastewater plants are treating as well. So this is kind of like a back check on this here. Before I turn it over to, again, the people at ADQ tonight, are there any questions for staff on this?
Vice Mayor Anderson.
You said that we go out and monitor wells and things that don't belong to the town. Do we monitor Johnson Utilities in any way?
I want to be careful about what I said. I didn't say that we monitor other people's wells. We occasionally get calls and we help the residents or non-residents that request our help on just determining why their either water tastes funny or is making somebody sick. So we don't monitor the wells, we merely provide some customer service. We do not have the ability to go out and monitor the wells of Johnson Utility.
Thank you.
All right, I do not see any further questions at this time.
So the presentation tonight from ADQ will be covering what is available for any resident, council member, staff member to go into the ADQ website. There's a series of tools that will allow you to see what is available to check versus our water report. So we thought that would be very, again, important, so you can see an independent check of our information. But the CCR is submitted to ADQ for their review and approval as well.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. My name is Holly Labrie. I am a compliance assistance coordinator with ADEQ's drinking water value stream. So what I do is I essentially help water utilities, specifically in Pinal, La Paz, and Santa Cruz counties, kind of navigate their way through the Safe Drinking Water Act. So we have an internal database that we use to kind of track monitoring schedules, monitoring results, contact information, wells for all of the public water systems in the state. That database can be accessed by anyone in the state, anywhere around the world. As long as they know some basic information about the water system, they can look it up on an external database and access all of that data. So what I was going to do is just kind of walk through step by step how to access that database and then how to access some specific information. So first, we're going to go to ADEQ's website. So, let me make this a little bigger. So this is where you can find anything and everything related to ADEQ. You scroll down to the bottom of the page. There's a little hyperlink that says search databases. This will bring you to a page that has all of the databases that ADEQ uses. We are interested in some water quality databases. About fourth from the bottom, we have the Safe Drinking Water Information System database. It's kind of hard to see, but there's like a peach hyperlink that says Access Database, and that will bring you directly to the Safe Drinking Water Information System database. This is, we use the acronym AZ-CIDWIS. There are two main ways that you can access information about a public water system. First is using the water system ID number, or you can search by water system name. On the CCR that Chris just presented, at the bottom you'll see a 7-digit public water system ID number. For our database though, we only need to enter the last 5 digits, which is 11017. And if you click search databases, you'll see the Florence Water Company. There's a little blue hyperlink of the full public water system ID. If we click on that, it will bring us to kind of the main page of the Town of Florence or Florence Water Company's database page. But from this screen, we can tell some major components of the water system. We have the water system name. The type is type C, which means it's a community water system. So Florence Water Company essentially serves at least 25 people or more through at least 15 service connections year-round. So it's a residential community water system. Status A means it's an active water system. It's currently serving water to at least 25 people or through 15 or more service connections, and it is located in Pinal County. So if we click on the blue hyperlink, it'll bring us to a page that has some more specific information. Again, we have the water system ID, the name, and the county that it serves. To the right, we have the water system classification. C stands for community. Primary water source, GW, stands for groundwater. It's an active water system that participates in ADEQ's Monitoring Assistance Program, which is a program that collects some of the compliance samples for the water system. And it's been active since 1976. You can take that date kind of with a grain of salt because that's when it was entered into our database. ADEQ was part of the Department of Health Services. So as there is a transition, that date could be off a little bit. So, but it has been at least serving water for the past probably 40 years. Water system contacts, you'll just see the administrative contact from this page. On ADEQ side, there is more contact information for other kind of staff members that are associated with the water company. Scrolling down, we'll see that the Town of Florence serves water using, it looks like 5 different groundwater wells. The first 4 are currently active. That's identified with activity status A. There is 1 well that is inactive for one reason or another. Maybe it's a low producer, maybe it's just not in good shape, but they do have 4 active wells. And availability, P, means that it is a permanent source. It's not used in cases of emergencies or kind of intermittently or seasonally. They're functioning and producing water year-round. Water purchases, you'll see that there is no water purchases, meaning no one purchases water from the Town of Florence. And what that means is there's no other water system that purchases water from the Town of Florence. Water purchases going back means that Town of Florence doesn't purchase water from another water system. Down a ways, you'll see buyers of water. So that means people who purchase water from the Town of Florence. So it looks like ADOC Florence purchases some or all of its water from the Town of Florence. Some other major components of this page, population, it looks like the Town of Florence currently serves a little less than 9,000 people. Service connections is just a connection, so it could be a resident, it could be a restaurant, could be a grocery store, but a service connection is how many connections the water system serves. There's currently about 3,600 active service connections in the Town of Florence. Scrolling down, just some other basic information. So ADEQ regulates this water system. And it looks like they had one past historical name, Florence Water Co. rather than Florence Water Company. So this is just some basic information. I wanted to scroll up to the top where you'll see a bunch of yellow hyperlinks. So you can access a lot of information using those hyperlinks. If you want a list of what wells or how many storage tanks the water system has, you can go to list of system facilities. But I wanted to highlight on sample schedules and panels and plans. So sample schedules will go over current and past sample requirements for Florence Water Company. The first section is routine TCR, and I know there's a bunch of acronyms in here, so I'm going to try my best to explain. TCR stands for total coliform rule. These are your total coliform bacteria that's monitored monthly. You'll see since 2010 to current, year-round from January 1st to December 31st, the town is collecting 15 routine samples per month throughout the water system. Usually that schedule is dependent on how many people you serve, so the more people you serve, the more samples you have to collect every month. So you can see that there are a number of old schedules, like from 2008 to 2009. The system only had to collect 9 samples per month. Does that make sense? Okay. Repeat total coliform samples are required when the system has a positive total coliform sample. These samples are collected within a 24-hour basis, so they're really short schedules that do have a quick begin date and a quick end date. So you'll see on July 21st to August 8th, the system had to take 3 repeat samples within a day. And so that's why that schedule is closed. Once they took their repeat samples, they went back to their normal 15 samples per month. The group non-total coliform sample schedules go into more of our chemical contaminant monitoring requirements. So again, there's a lot of acronyms, but I encourage you to look at the analyte group name rather than the group code. The group code is just a way the databases kind of talk to each other. So you'll see since 2015, the system is required to take 1 sample per year for DBPs, which stands for disinfection byproduct. So a byproduct of the normal disinfection process that the system uses, they have to monitor for 2 major groups of contaminants. So again, that's not every month, it's just 1 sample every year. Lead and copper is another big one. So since 2012, the system has to take 30 routine samples every 3 years. And this is a sampling frequency based on population and then historic sample results. So usually, kind of the less frequently you have to monitor, it all depends on your historic sample results. Then we have a number of other contaminants. IOCs stand for inorganic compounds. RAD stands for radionuclide, so combined uranium, gross alpha. An example of an IOC is arsenic is a big one. SOCs are your synthetic organic compounds, so mostly your pesticides, kind of your synthetic made compounds. And then VOCs are your volatile organic compounds, so compounds related to gasoline, kind of fuel related volatile compounds. So you'll see that the schedules kind of vary depending on frequency. So we have a sample being collected 1 every 9 years, which again is based on population, historic sample results, and kind of the sampling history, how long the system has been sampling at that specific sample tap location. RADs, based on historic sample results, they have to take 1 sample every 6 years. And again, this is dependent on population and historic sample results. SOCs is 2 samples every 3 years. Again, that's mostly based on population. And then VOCs is 1 sample every 3 years. So you'll see that there are a number of kind of repeating schedules. You'll see multiple schedules for IOCs, SOCs, and VOCs. That's because the system has 3 different sample taps. those compounds are sampled at what we call the entry point to the distribution system. So it's after any well, storage, treatment, but before the first customer gets served. There's a sample tap, so we know what the water quality is going into the distribution system that is serving your water customers. So there's 3 specific sample taps. The entry point to the distribution system, sample tap 1, we have sample tap 2, and sample tap 3, which could all have different monitoring frequencies, again, depending on mostly the historic sample results. We have individual non-RTCR sample schedules. These are your specific contaminants. These mostly qualify, or the contaminants that are qualified as individual samples are nitrate, nitrite, sodium, and asbestos. They're kind of, they don't fit into those major contaminant groups that I talked about above. Phanols are semi-similar to sample schedules. There's a lot of information, but just to summarize what their current phanol is, they have to monitor the residual of their disinfectant in their distribution system. So a phanol is just a fancy way that our database compares the sample results to the maximum value allowed. The system currently has 2 sample plans on file that mostly relates to the stage 2 disinfection byproduct rule, which is required by water systems, so there's nothing really abnormal there. So I know this was a kind of brief overview of sampling requirements. Are there any questions so far? No?
I just wanted to ask a quick question. Our community, I think, would find more value in this maybe more than the normal community might. Do you guys have a key where people can, if they don't hear what you're saying right this second, if they're online, where they can see exactly what's all included in certain things or just what some of these things mean? Do you guys have a key for a basic community person to be able to read it?
Yeah, it's kind of a step-by-step process. So kind of going through what I went, here's the link, here's how you enter the system number. We do have an acronym list that goes over what everything means. We're currently revising it and it will be on our website, but I can definitely forward that information to Tim.
Yeah, it just seems like you'd want to know like what C means or what GW means, or even, you know, what contaminants would be included in each of one of those categories, you know, a little question mark that you hover over and it tells you a list of some of the things that might be tested in that test, things like that. Also, if you don't have the ID, how would you search for a certain system?
Yeah, I can circle back to that. So all I'm going to do is hit water system search. That will take me back to the main page. You can type in a water system name, however, it has to be the exact name. So this water system's name.
The other utility that services our citizens here is called Johnson Utilities. If you want to just model that for us.
Yeah, I can. But let me first go through. So you can go through. So if you don't know the exact name, you can say, I know it's a water system in Pinal County, and it's a community water system, and it uses groundwater. You can go through that basic information. If you don't know that much information, you can just click, I know it's in Pinal County. And if you click search for water systems, it will bring up all of the water systems that fit that criteria.
Okay.
But before I wrap up, because I know we're running out of time, I just wanted to kind of highlight on what Chris was saying about the reporting violation. So up at the top, going to violations, you will see in 2018, it appears in our database as 3 different violations, but it's only for 1 monitoring period. So there is a little bit of some confusion there. But for the first quarter, so for January, February, and March 2018, there was a reporting violation for disinfection byproducts, which is essentially the chlorine residual. A major component is this compliance achieved column. Whys mean that compliance was achieved. That report that we were missing was submitted on after the due date, or if a sample was missed, which wasn't necessarily the case here, but if a sample was missed and a sample was collected during the next monitoring period, that would return violations back to compliance. So in the compliance achieved column, Ys are good. Again, there's a lot more information that you guys can access in this database. I know that there was mention about other water systems. You can look up any water system in the state. I know that other states even have something similar that you can look up any water system. All of this information is public record, so it's all available online, and as soon as ADEQ makes a change in our database, it is automatically reflected on this database. So there's no real lag time in any updates on contact information, sampling schedules, sample results, violation compliance statuses, all of it. Yeah.
So, in conclusion, throughout every month, we sample a minimum of 19 times, and that's in varied areas throughout the town. And so one of the purposes of having, again, ADQ here tonight was to bring to the public the level of scrutiny that our water system is put through every single month. I know we get questions a couple times a year, maybe once a year, about, again, I have this problem, I know you're, I don't want to sit there and characterize this, you're not testing for this, or you're lying to me about this. And so this is a very, very sophisticated level of testing that goes on, not just in Florence, but throughout the state of Arizona. And so these are extremely rigorous tests. Obviously, since the 60s and the 70s and so forth, we've had a great deal of understanding of, again, what nitrates do to babies, blue baby syndrome. And so, again, that level of nitrate has, is, again, a very sophisticated test, and I'm assuming that as we have this drought that's been going on for probably more than a decade, it doesn't just affect Florence, it affects all across the United States. The level of nitrates are going up in our water, in our aquifers, so it's becoming more and more difficult for us to, again, pump water that we're able to not treat and still send out. Places like Global Water, they blend their water, so they take a certain level of arsenic here and a certain level of nitrate here, combine them so they are able to pass that through. And as the council knows, we've had some issues with Well Site 5, that's on our CIP this year. And again, we are struggling to figure out exactly what the future is of Well 5, whether that's going to be a chemical treatment, quite possibly drilling a new well. So these are things that affect the nation and are right here in our own backyard as far as these testing requirements. I will not say ensure, because there is nothing that is 100% positive, but this level of sophistication is, again, a standard that all of your cities and towns are essentially subject to in Arizona, and we're meeting these requirements annually. Again, multiple tests throughout, and then if there is, again, a hit on a test, the requirements are pretty stringent as well. We've got to test 5 houses up, 5 houses down. We've got to retest all of our wells. And these are the tests that, again, that were mentioned as far as we have 24 hours to go ahead and take these tests and to provide proof that it was just some anomaly. Every once in a while, if you're testing on a day that is a little bit windy, you'll get contaminants in a test. I mean, there's no way to avoid it. We still have to test. And so there are all kind of weird things that happen. Water and wastewater. Sometimes a bug will actually float, get in an actual jar and stuff. You never know what is actually causing a false positive. So that's why we have these ability to take the retest, if you will. But like I said, I'm quite amazed by the level of sophistication that, again, that we have to treat to, that we have to meet all these requirements. And so, again, I'm glad that ADQ was able to come down here and kind of, again, show off their system, but also, again, what we are subject to provide water as a municipal water supplier.
Councilmember Hughes, go ahead.
Is there a link to this on our website for our residents to click it?
I do not believe as of today, but we most definitely can add something without a problem.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Any other council members?
I guess I'd like to add that if there is, to address Councilwoman Larson's comments, we, as a staff, if there's somebody who really wants to understand and learn this, they can definitely set up an appointment, both with Mr. Wainscott or Mrs. Jonas, and they can kind of spend a little bit of time with them going through this website a little bit. Not that we're experts on it, but I think that we have a little bit more understanding of how the website works. We'd be glad to sit down with a person and explain to them that GW stands for groundwater and all those things. I agree. This stuff is getting back to, I guess, junior year in high school, and you know what arsenic is and what nitrates are. There's a level of chlorination, dechlorination, again, ppm, parts per million, ppb, parts per billion. There's a lot of stuff in here that we definitely could take time to sit down with. So if this website is not intuitive enough, by all means, reach out to Public Works, and we'd be glad to sit down and walk a person through some of these things in there.
And I really do appreciate that, just to respond real quick, I do really appreciate that, but I think that it's important that the people who are making the website, I mean, you might say that means groundwater, but that could be something completely different, you know? So I think it's important for them to understand from the people who are actually publishing the data exactly what the data is intended to mean. I mean, so that's important for me, because maybe it's not in Florence, maybe it's someplace else that they want to research. So it's just important for that to be easily analyzed by the public.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that people understood that they do have an option, that the town staff is willing to make some time through an appointment and walk them through some of these things, or walk them through the CCR. We've only had, I think, 1 or 2 customers in my now 4 reports that we've done have some questions, but we have sat down with people. Like I said, we enjoy public interaction, so if anyone has any questions, we'd be glad to sit down with these types of questions. I'm just trying to make sure that people understand.
Thank
that.
Vice Mayor Anderson?
Yeah, I have a question. In your database, do you also include the Gila Indian Reservation wells?
The what?
Not that I am aware of. The only, so ADEQ only regulates public water systems. EPA does regulate water systems on tribal land. The only way that it would show up in our database is if at one point it was regulated by the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality.
Well, they have some wells that aren't on the reservation, but the canals, you know, are running through our town. So that was my concern.
Again, so this only shows public water systems, whether it's a private well, it wouldn't show up in our database.
Okay.
If a well was owned by a public water system or used by a public water system, it would be in our database.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and
This is potable water you're talking about, right?
yes, yeah.
Okay. Not irrigation water.
No, only water used for drinking water purposes.
Very informative. I appreciate you coming out tonight and sharing that. I'm looking forward to that being on our website. We're continuously always learning about new tools and opportunities to keep ourselves and our residents informed. So I appreciate you taking the time out this evening.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. And I did want to comment, so this actually interface, ADEQ strives for continuous improvement, and I know that this is very technical. There's a lot of acronyms. We are very close to kind of revamping the interface of this database, make things more user-friendly, easily searchable for samples, monitoring requirements. It should be all, you can filter through it. You don't have to scroll through really long pages to find out what you want. That's still under development, but we'll definitely we'll have a communications plan for all of our water systems on how to use it and when it will be available.
And if residents or any of us have any feedback for you, we can reach you at that email that you provided in regards to suggestions to make it more user-friendly.
Yeah, we actually also have a feedback link that we can also share. That may be a little easier. But yeah, we are definitely open to comments from the public on how to make things easier to understand and use.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We had some additional comments from ADQ.
Hello. Hi, Madam Mayor, council members. My name is Jason Bobko. With the drinking water program as well, I work with Holly, the manager over the Inspections, Compliance, Enforcement, and OpCert program. So that's a long title, but my folks are the ones who go out and do every 3 years, do the sanitary surveys for all the water systems in the state. I also run the operator certification program. So I just wanted to take this moment to thank the town of Florence. You're hosting us in 2 weeks at the center across the street for a operator certification program. And the topic is going to be specifically on nitrate control. Just so you understand, Pinal County has the highest number of nitrate exceedances throughout the state. Okay, and most of it has to do with the farming. It's farming communities have exceedances of nitrates historically. So we are doing targeted workshops throughout the state, and we're thankful you're allowing us use the facility 2 weeks from now. So thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We'll see you on September 10th.
Yeah, August 29th.
Oh,
Close.
there's another conference coming out to Florence, September 10th.
Is it better than ours? Because
No, but you might want to join us. Vice Mayor Anderson, can you tell them a little bit about it?
Well, it's part of the water basin study. And if you'd be interested in it, I can send you an invite.
okay, yeah, that'd be great. And just so you know that our workshop also is open. There is no charge for ADEQ workshops. So if any of you are interested, you go to our website, to the OpCert section, you could find that. You could register and go that day as well.
We also have a workshop from the Babbitt Center,
Okay,
and I can invite you to that one too.
excellent. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. And this is a great drive, by the way. The peanut butter and jelly drive, that was great. Thanks.
Definitely a community effort. All right. Our next item is the consent agenda. All items on a consent agenda will be handled by a single vote as part of the consent agenda unless a council member or member of the public objects at the time the agenda item is called. Item A is resolution number 1712-19. This is a discussion approval disapproval of a resolution of the town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, affirming the approval of the final plat for Anthem at Merrill Ranch, Unit 41, and authorizing execution by the town manager of supporting documents. Item B is resolution number 1713-19. This is discussion approval disapproval of a resolution of the town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, affirming the approval of the final plat for the Anthem at Merrill Ranch, Unit 43, and authorizing execution by the town manager of supporting documents. Item C is resolution number 1714-19. This is discussion approval disapproval of a resolution of the town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, affirming the approval of the final plat for Anthem at Merrill Ranch, Unit 45, and authorizing execution by the town manager of the supporting documents. Item D is the approval to purchase one new Z726 XKW mower and two new Kubota RTW 500H utility vehicles from Bingham Equipment Company in the amount not to exceed $27,547.05. Item E is authorization to contract with Arizona Generator Technology for servicing the town's generator in an amount not to exceed $30,000. Item F is authorization to contract with Glenn Jones Ford to purchase stock parts for vehicle repairs and maintenance in an amount not to exceed $40,000. Item G is authorization to contract with Waxy Sanitary Supplies for operational and janitorial supplies and related custodial equipment and services in an amount not to exceed $40,000. Item H is authorization to contract with Rottweiler Controls LLC for professional services related to SCADA improvements in an amount not to exceed $50,000. Item I is approval of non-exclusive revocable license agreement with the Copper Basin Railway Incorporated for access to the Post and Butte Preserve. Item J is approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Pinal County for the placement, operation, and use of a community emergency response team trailer at the Florence Fire Department. Item K is ratification of the annual software renewal for the Cassell software in an amount not to exceed $29,423. Item L is authorization for the finance director to write off old account balances in the amount of $15,771.79. Item M is authorization to dispose of 2 police vehicles that are no longer useful and they have outlived their lives, their useful life. Item N is authorization to contract with Hill Brothers Chemical Company to provide water and wastewater treatment and pool chemicals in an amount not to exceed $87,500. Item O is approval of the July 1st, July 9th, and July 15th, 2019 Town Council meeting minutes. Item P is to receive and file the following board and commission meeting minutes. First, May 16th, 2019, Florence Youth Commission meeting minutes. Second, January 16th and April 17th, 2019, Library Advisory Board meeting minutes. Third, April 25th, 2019, Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting minutes. Fourth, June 6th and June 20th, 2019, Planning and Zoning meeting minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your consent agenda. Is there any member of the public or council that would like any items removed at this time? Without further ado, I need a motion.
Make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as read.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item of business is our 8A, unfinished business. This is ordinance number 682-19. This is the second reading and discussion, approval, disapproval of an ordinance of the Town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, approving an overlay for Florence Gardens Units A, B, C, D, E, and F. Mr. Larry Harmer.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We have no additional presentation from your last meeting and public hearing. We do have a representative of Florence Gardens here if you have any questions of them or myself.
All right, is there any questions? All right, with that, we need a motion.
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 682-19.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign, and the motion carries. Item 9A is our new business. Resolution 1715-19. This is discussion, approval, disapproval of a resolution of the Town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, declaring its intention to establish a streetlight improvement district to purchase energy for lighting the public streets in the area with the corporate limits of the Town of Florence, Arizona, described on Exhibit A and Exhibit B, attached hereto, declaring such improvement to be more than local or ordinary public benefit, and that the expense thereof be paid for by the levy and collection of the ad valorem taxes upon the assessed valuation of all real and personal property in a certain district to be known as the Anthem at Merrill Ranch Lighting Improvement District 4. In parentheses, the quote district, unquote, close parentheses, and ordering that such improvements be provided for under the provisions of sections 48-572 and 48-616, the Arizona Revised Statutes. Ms. Lisa Garcia.
Mayor and members of council, this is your first ever majority slid petition. A majority petition is different than a unanimous petition. A unanimous petition is typically done at the time of platting prior to anyone residing in the district, or every member of the community signs off on the petition, making it a unanimous petition. A majority petition happens when people already reside in the district and we have to go through the process. So this is your first ever majority petition. What happens is that Pulte went out, they collected signatures, and those signatures were 78% of those owners in the district with 54% of the assessed evaluation. The law requires 50 plus 1 of both the owners living in the area and the assessed evaluation. So SLID 4 does have enough petitions to be, enough signatures to be presented to the council tonight. So what a majority petition does once it's presented to the council is council would adopt a resolution that would give the town engineer and myself, there he is, the town engineer and myself the ability to go out and post the area. The area would be posted in the newspaper for 2 consecutive weeks, and during the same time, signs would be placed around the property perimeter noticing the people that a majority SLID is being formed. They would have basically 40 days to file a petition with the clerk's office, or a letter in the clerk's office challenging the signature or asking for their signature to be removed. And so this notice of intent resolution kickstarts the process to allow for the residents within District 4 to have a right to protest and then if it does, then we go forward and we bring those protests to council and council gets to look at them. If they don't, then we've included a timeline, and tonight what you see is a consideration of resolution number 171519. If council does approve this resolution, then the first day to receive protests would begin on August 20th, and we would post a notice in the Florence Reminder on the 29th and August 29th and September 5th. During that time, the signs would also be placed in the ground for the and on display for the residents of the SLID. The last day to file the protest, if we're able to go with those dates, would be September 20th, 2019. And then if no one challenges the petition, a petition to form the SLID would come back to the council on October 5th. So this is just the beginning of the process. Right now, Pulte is working with a sign company, and we're getting a date on when they will be able to put those signs in the ground. We may have to adjust the date slightly because what we want to do is make sure that it appears in the paper at the same time as the signs are placed. So if necessary, we'll move out that October 5th date to the second meeting in October.
Okay, thank you.
And in accordance with Arizona state law, SLIDs are not allowed to charge more than $1.20 per $100, or $1.20 per $100 of assessed evaluation. Just like you just did the truth and taxation notice for the town of Florence and the public hearing during the budget next fiscal year, a public hearing will be held and the tax amount will be announced if council does go forward in forming SLID number 4. Mr. Salas, do you have anything to add, sir?
Nothing at this time.
Cliff, do you have anything to add? No. We were happy to entertain any questions of the council.
Are there any questions from council?
Yes. At last time we discussed SLID, the town manager challenged me when I told him that the current SLID versus non-SLID numbers were, for the SLID, the town is currently, the SLID pays about $87,000. In the non-SLID areas, it's like $80,000. So it's only $7,000 difference between the SLID and non-SLID. I object to the way this is being handled because in the non-SLID area, the lights are being paid for out of our HERF fund. And that's a way to avoid not hitting the general fund, and that's fine with me. But the people in the SLID area are being taxed to pay for lights in the SLID area. And to me, that just doesn't seem fair that we have two different processes here in town, I would like to see us come up with a plan where everybody's treated equally, either slids everywhere or slids nowhere. So I object to this thing tonight until we get that straightened out.
Okay, Madam Mayor, I just wanted to follow up to some of those comments, because I do feel that it is unbalanced between how they are being paid for, what funding they're being paid for, as well as the ones that would be covered under the HERF. I think there is a way that we can calculate out what that amount would be, or what those light numbers would be in those slids that are currently there. However, when I was talking to Lisa about this particular item tonight that we're talking about, it is just starting that process, so it's allowing them to petition. So I wouldn't feel comfortable without my questions being answered before, if say this hypothetical October 5th date. I do want those answers before I'm going to approve something. I do think that it's fair to have questions and expect answers.
Yes.
So to me, but obviously Brent isn't here to answer them. We haven't had the legal opinion about what we can and cannot do. But I won't feel comfortable answering or making a decision when that comes before us, if this were to be approved, until those are answered.
Mayor, members of council, I do want to just inform you that we do expect an additional 3 slids and possibly more to be formed prior to the end of this calendar year. So these are just not the only 3 slids we have. There will be many more slids that have a potential of being created, as well as not just in the Pulte area, but in all new development. In fact, our town code as it exists today states that slids will be used for new development, and I'd be happy, I think I've already sent it to all of the council, but I'll be happy to share that statute or that section of the town code with you again. And then inside of the agreement that was filed by the town of Florence and approved by the town of Florence Town Council and Pulte dated October 17, 2018, on page 4, section J, it does state that streetlight improvement standard process completion of the slids for unit 53, 55, 57, and 59 shall be resolved the slid issue for units 53, 57, 59, and 59 by establishing a slid for these units. Therefore, Pulte shall establish a slid for all subdivisions prior to the submission of a final plat for each subdivision. Town staff agrees not to recommend to council that any slid position be denied. So that is within the written agreement. So process moving forward on any development as it is platted is that the slid will come at the same time as the final plat, and then we will push forward. It's part of the concept as new growth pays for itself. And that was a motto that all of Arizona was looking at for a long period of time. And so it is within the code and it's within this contract, but then again, council has the right to vote any way that they choose to vote. And again, this is a notice of intent to form a slid that then starts the process to which the public has a right to speak.
On the signatures that were collected, is that correct? Signatures were collected?
Signature petitions were signed and they were submitted to the clerk's office, yes.
And those were from residents?
Those are from the residents that reside in the area.
Does it make a difference if the person who signed it owned the house or if they're just a renter?
No, at the time that the signatures petitions came into the clerk's office did get an active list from Pinal County assessor that told us who owned the property, and they had to own the property at the time of the submittal.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, again, this is only the second reading, and
It's the first reading, but only a notice of intent. It does
Gotcha.
not form a slid. It gives the intent, the citizens, the notification that the town intends to form a slid.
Okay, and I was literally reading where it said second reading.
Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. This is not a second reading.
That's okay.
Yes.
So this is the first reading. This will be coming back, allowing for public input as well. So if there's no other questions or concerns, we do not need a vote on this item. We do?
Yes.
But it says recommended motion.
It says, so the recommended motion, adoption of, right in first?
No,
Is
I'm
it-
so sorry. I stayed on unfinished business.
Okay.
This is my error. I apologize.
Okay. Yes, it does require the council to adopt this in order to issue the intent and in order to instruct myself and the town engineer to proceed with noticing the public.
You are correct. Can I have a motion to approve resolution number 1715-19?
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 1715-19 as read.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
And motion carries. Item B is discussion approval disapproval to contract with Bestway Electric Motor Service Company Incorporated to provide electric motor rewind, repair, and purchases for water and wastewater projects in the amount not to exceed $100,000. Mr. Chrysalis.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Through a cooperative contract, we would like to have the ability for Bestway, who's been servicing the town's SAM units, which are essentially a combined aeration and mixing device that are in our wastewater treatment plant, so that pushes the air or dissolved oxygen into, again, the wastewater cells, the tanks, the basins, and then on top of that, they have a mixing unit that allows things to mix both in aeration and non-aeration components there. These units are very likely to be put out of service this calendar year. We are evaluating whether we're going to continue on with the SAM units, but if we choose to stick with the SAM units, we need to have an ability to repair them, as they have been an unreliable part of the wastewater plant since inception. They are a high maintenance item, they are expensive to repair, and they go out often. So right now we have, I believe, 5 complete units that are out of service in the one basin that is essentially not used. And so we've been evaluating. We were lucky enough to find that we have a contract that if we choose to stay with them, both Mr. Wainscott and myself toured a plant in Goodyear last Tuesday, and we looked at a fixed grid diffuser, fine bubble diffuser, and that is what it's looked like we were moving towards. But in the meantime, we want to make sure we have contracts in place that in the event of an emergency, we can go in there and repair units versus being caught, unprepared, and this is just a responsible thing to do, to have contracts in place so when we need them, we can use them. But this is a vendor that the town's been using for years upon years to repair these units.
Are there any questions?
What budget item would that come out of, Chris?
This would come out of line item 326. This is an operational repair, and it would be listed under services, line item 326.
You're sort of pushing that, aren't you? Did we put a lot of stuff in 326 at the last meeting?
Yes, again, this would, we have to, we may not use this contract at all. This comes down to being responsible and making sure we're prepared in the event of a unit failing. Typically what is used and internal to our organization, there's a form that allows us to go to the finance director and apply for an emergency, which is an exception to the purchasing policy, something I'm very much against. I don't believe essentially that's an emergency. That is an admittance of not being prepared. And so instead, we like to have contracts in place, but you're correct. Only so many things can go in line item 326. And then if we exceed line item 326, then we must find money in other areas.
Thank you.
All right, if there's no further questions, with that, we need a motion.
Make a motion to authorize a contract with Bestway Electric Motor Service Company Incorporated to provide electric motor rewind, repair, and purchases for water and wastewater projects in an amount not to exceed $100,000.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item C, again, Mr. Chris Salas. Discussion, approval, disapproval to contract with Ferguson Enterprises Incorporated to provide parts for water, wastewater projects in an amount not to exceed $250,000.
At the previous, good evening, Mayor, members of council. At the previous meeting, we approved a contract for Fortiline, and at the time I discussed that we'd be coming for a contract with Ferguson as well. We have had good luck with both providers. Sometimes one is cheaper than the other. These contracts, these cooperative contracts, don't necessarily require us to quote each individual item, but through an agreement between myself and our finance director, Mr. Sanchez, we use these contracts to keep the contractors essentially very honest. We let them both know, here is our scope of work or our scope of items that we need purchased. Please provide us a quote back. And so depending on the items, again, one provider may have 4 of the 5 items, the other provider may have 5 of the 5 items. One may not carry a particular configuration of a valve, and ultimately, like I said, we choose to go with the best value, which is typically the cheapest because both of them are reputable providers. Another thing I want to mention about the Ferguson tonight, as you well know, we had a contract approved several months ago for Ferguson to do our AMR, our automatic meter reading contract. That was approximately a $1.7 million project. And within that project, we are now getting boots on the ground, and we are starting to work with the contractor. I'm not sure what has been shared with the council, but through some, I guess me leaning on the contractor, they are going to come out and do a free survey for the town. So that's an extremely expensive item that they're eating as part of this cost. They're going to actually come out in every meter. They're going to open the lid. They're going to vac anything that they can't see, and we are going to do an actual determination of all the pieces that are needed for each and every meter installation. That was not necessarily available at the time of the procurement because every contractor may look at this a little bit differently. So they're going to provide that. So there are items, for example, we have so many boxes that are going to need to be replaced in their entirety. That's meter boxes. So areas like Florence Gardens, specifically areas like Caliente, where the boxes have now been surrounded by concrete driveways, someone is going to have to go out there and essentially cut the concrete, repair the box, put a proper size mag-style box in there, put a new curb stop in there. So there are things that we're going to need to purchase probably from Ferguson, and so this allows us to purchase and kind of make sure we still are able to honor and our contract, but be able to purchase some additional parts. Some of these projects are going to be handled by our actual water staff. We are gearing up to start doing some of those improvements in-house, but at the same time, we may have to buy some of these products from somebody. It would make sense to have uniform, across the board fixtures. We don't want to buy these products and have them supplied by Ferguson, but then buy some of the other different valves from Fortiline. So this allows us to kind of, again, a bit of sole sourcing to make sure that if we have something in our shop, we can take that one valve out of our shop. Our forthcoming water barn that was approved as part of our CIP, we should be able to stock one valve, one curb stop, one corp stop, and be able to take that in the field without the worry of, I don't know, does this one fit, does this one fit, does this one fit? So this is that same type of contract. And I'll just answer the question now. This would be, again, another one of those line item 326 contracts. Obviously, we are over encumbering a line item, but we are not going to overspend necessarily a line item without working with the finance department to reallocate funds. So something new to this year is that we're tracking those internal transfers and we're updating as we go along. So I used to do it pretty old school. I had a book, I had a red pen, minus 10,000, plus 10,000. This year we're actually getting to the level of sophistication where the finance department is going to actually change it in the program so that every time there's a change, they'll send me updated forms. I'll take a red marker and mark out the old page in my book, put the new page in, so we'll be better able to track these types of changes in the budget to avoid mistakes. So we may have to allocate different funds in there, and we may have to shave off either CIP projects, but as everyone knows, our first priority is operations and maintenance. We can't keep building new roads while our old roads fall apart. We have to maintain our current infrastructure first and foremost. And so, you know, there's always this, I guess, wish list of things that we love to do, but oftentimes we're extremely happy just keeping our current infrastructure running at the wastewater plants, at the water plants, our collection system, our distribution system. All these are very labor intensive. So absolutely, this will be a line item that is typically out of 326. This is shared between both the water and wastewater departments. And this allows, again, if necessary, an economic development opportunity comes up and we're able to do something in-house, this allows us to kind of expedite that project if so desired.
You know, Chris, what I've noticed about the way that you've been running your department lately is exactly what you've said. You've been planning for if we need this, but really you've been managing your spending appropriately and keeping it down and making sure that you're bringing us the best product for the most economical impact. So I just want to say that I do appreciate that. It's also apparent that over the past, few years, when our residents have come forward in regards to, issues with some of that infrastructure, you listened. You made a plan to inspect the areas, to come up with a plan to identify what needs to be improved and how it needs to be improved. Along the way, we're always going to have emergencies that come up. We have old systems mixed with new systems in our community. So I want to give you a sincere thanks for looking out for our community in regards to coming up with these plans to make sure that we're servicing appropriately and in a timely manner.
I wish Peter was here tonight.
That's who I was thinking of in my head as well.
So in the event of our last major shutdown on our water improvement project, I believe 3A, would have been WU 83, we had a water shutdown, and when it came back online, unexpectedly, he had poor water quality. We tested his neighbors, fine. We tested other down the street, fine. We flowed hydrants to the point where even the police department was coming to us and like, is there something wrong here? We could not get whatever was in that particular line. Thankfully, he was actually doing remodeling at the time. And I think it's fair to say, he was very fair to us, but insisted that something be done about it. And so because of contracts like this, we were able to go out there and do a project immediately within probably 96 hours. Obviously we have to wait for the blue stake, so we call in our 811, we call in, whether it be Ferguson or Fort Line, pipe was dropped off, a hydrant was dropped off, some valves were dropped off, and we went out there within a few days and put in a new line there to serve, and that's going to be part of a future 8-inch project there. But again, I want to thank the council for approving these kind of contracts, because that does allow Public Works to be reactive when necessary, to be able to do repairs when necessary, to do when modifications were necessary, install new hydrants for the fire department when necessary. These types of contracts allow us freedom to, again, serve the residents, which is the reason why I'm employed here. This isn't a goal of mine to be unprepared all the time and have stuff break, but it is absolutely, due to the age of the infrastructure, a necessity to be prepared. Last year's water budget was unusual, but it was conveyed to the administration months in advance that we would be tracking high due to, again, the purchase of water credits. So I want to make sure that, again, everyone understands that that was not something that was oh shoot moment. We understood in advance, and then we worked with, I believe it would be Ms. Jimenez that we worked with to, again, provide something to council, letting them know that there would be some overages, but by no means was it a mistake. We went in there and we accomplished more than what we dreamed of in 1 year. And for those kind of things, like I said, I couldn't be more proud of the water department and what was accomplished in 1 year. The things that we did, maybe some highlights of my life, my career. We did a lot. So, I mean, again, but the idea is to keep our projects within budget, but the enterprise funds will always be somewhat unique and handled differently.
Well, I would like to say, Chris, when I ask these questions, it's not that I don't appreciate what you're doing. I really do appreciate what you're doing. And some of these questions I know the answer to, but I think I owe it to the public as being a council member to question these things. And I really appreciate your answers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I fully understand the council's job. Been doing this a long time. There are certain things that are said, and like I said, I appreciate the fact that you're looking after the well-being, again, the fiscal responsibility of the public and what we do, and then by no means, like I said, I've made the statement recently, if we miss budgets due to, again, my philosophies, I'm welcome to be fired at any time. I know that we have, like I said, great relationships between Public Works, the Finance Department, the Administration Department. There are things that are discussed way in advance before any of these things happen. There's no vogue Public Works Department out there. The project with Peter, for example, was discussed, and we looked at options. We looked at pipeline configurations, how this could be resolved. We worked with a customer to explain to him, you can have clean water tomorrow. We can do a tap off of Phoenix Street for you, and then you install the rest of the line on your property. That can be done tomorrow. Obviously, that wasn't the best option. We knew it, but we provided him at least an option to go ahead and take care of the project internally. And then what we explained was, if you give us a little bit more time, we will look at other options in there. And so again, this is a normal philosophy of Public Works to make sure that we try to provide as many options as possible, all while knowing some of them just flat out don't make sense.
Absolutely.
I make a motion that we authorize a contract with Ferguson Enterprises LLC to provide parts for the water and wastewater project in an amount not to exceed $250,000.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item D is discussion approval, disapproval to enter into a contract with Cactus Asphalt for asphalt maintenance and repair services for CIP project T69. This is a pavement preservation project. Mr. Chrysalis.
I apologize. I'm not feeling very well tonight.
That's okay. I hope you feel better.
I think this is our 6th project with Cactus Asphalt. In my 3 years, we average about 2 projects a year. This is, again, our polymer modified asphalt rubber projects that we use in the downtown, which essentially consist of, again, what people call a chip seal. This is a long-term maintenance project where the idea is to get 8 to 10 more years out of these roads before we have to go through the cost of a full mill and replace. We are currently working on, between the GIS department and myself, a full long-term HERF model to see where we'll be at as far as 10 years from today, 15 years from today, 20 years from today, a sustainable model as far as how much we can put down for all of these repairs while all saving a few pennies for, at some point, we are going to have to do, whether it's cold in place recycling, mill and replace of Hunt Highway. That road is not getting newer, so we'll have to do projects like that. And it is very apparent that by law can't be done and paid for by DIF funds. Those lanes will have to come out of our HERF budget there. So at the same time, it may seem kind of funny to look at it this way, but some of the early Anthem units were built in 2003, 2004, somewhere between 28 and 32 years, which isn't that far away if you think about it. We will have to be doing full mill and fill of those. Again, City of Phoenix, City of Mesa, they're getting anywhere from about 28 to 32 years before they're milling the tops of those roads and replacing those. So that's, again, 10 more years in Anthem where we're going to have to be doing that. Those are all the costs that are going to have to be borne by our HERF dollars. So we're evaluating all those kind of things because DIF funds cannot pay for those things. We have struggled across the state to increase our gas tax. And so right now we have very limited HERF funds, and so this has been a ploy between myself and the town manager as a long-term plan to keep these roads from falling apart, all while trying to save money for, again, and we're getting probably, I would say within the next 4 to 5 months, we'll have a long-term vision of what HERF is going to look like over the next 20 years between the mill and fill, the Hunt Highway. Well, First Street will probably be the last of the downtown areas that will have to be a full mill and replacement, but the next one could be Phoenix Street probably in 8 years. That was a road that was on the very edge of not being a mill and replacement, mill and fill, and that was done with a PMAR project, and it's holding up. The road that goes into the school, Van Haren, was also in extremely poor shape, and so even with a PMAR application, that's still a rough road. So there's lots of expenditures that are going to happen in HERF over the next 15 to 20 years, and what we're trying to do is keep these roads from falling apart while we can kind of save up more and more funds over the years.
All right, are there any questions? With that, we need a motion.
Make a motion, we enter into a contract with Cactus Asphalt for pavement preservation treatment for CIP Project T-69 pavement preservation. Contract amount shall not exceed $363,653.36.
A second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Agenda item E is discussion approval, disapproval to enter into a contract with Zamar Industries Incorporated for the purchase of various street signs, poles, and pole accessories in an amount not to exceed $35,000.
Zamar Industries is one of the large supplier of sign materials, posts, accessories, the new solar-powered LED stop signs that we have along Hunt Highway were purchased from Zamar. Again, this is a cooperative contract that allows us to benefit from a larger community and be able to buy signs at a reduced rate that the town of Florence couldn't negotiate on our own. Some years ago, FHWA has created new rules that require breakaway posts that a lot of our signs do not meet. And so we're going through and updating all of them to the square posts that you see, the perforated square posts. So that requires a different base, and it allows for the traveling public to make contact and not have the level of damage or damage to vehicle that the old U-channel used to have. So we are in the process of, and this, I don't have the entire budget memorized. This comes out of HERF, and the name of it would be traffic. I don't remember the number, but it comes out of traffic. And so typically, we spend about $30-some thousand a year in replacing signs or updating posts. Signs get hit constantly. So since applying the LEDs on Hunt Highway, we haven't had that stop sign hit. And I guess something else that's important, one of the things that we noticed in our evaluation is the number of, and we got this from Chief Hughes, the amount of people who have violated the stop sign and run through the intersection. We are applying rumble strips, which is a MUTCD and FHW approved technique to bring awareness to people that they're coming up to some change, which would be a stop sign. So we're going to be applying rumble strips here very soon, so that'll be a neat project. Those types of rumble strips on ADOT usually are milled in the road, and though ours will be applied above it, it's a better application. For milling kind of destroys the road, but a cheaper way of doing things sometimes for the state. So we'll be applying rumble strips at that intersection here, hopefully very soon. The contractor's going to come out and give us some training on the application. It's actually a melt-in product that applies to the asphalt. It's bonded, it's melted to the asphalt.
That's neat. Any questions about that?
I have a question about the sign. Out on Hunt Highway, before you reach America Way, there's a sign out there that says America Way, but you can't see it because of the trees. Trees are blocking that sign. Is that something that we deal with, or move the sign, or?
Oh, no, absolutely, absolutely. I'll reach out to you via email to make sure we have the right sign, and Dan will be out there tomorrow morning to look at it, take pictures. We'll be sending something to the HOA that they have to trim that. We're lucky enough that we met, Dan and I attended a class put on by Pinal County by an attorney on all the liability related to street signs, correct signing of things, as well as visibility of signs. So yes, we just went through all that training there, and we'll be reaching out.
Well, you can see it once you get up to it, but, when you're back probably 200 foot, you can't see the sign.
Well, I could be wrong, but I would imagine at that design speed, you should have a sight distance of approximately 500 feet.
Yeah.
So you should definitely be able to see it way further back than 200 feet.
I think these are some of the new trees that they planted there. They're growing up faster.
Well, this is always I'm glad Larry's here to hear. This is always kind of that struggle between having a beautiful community that's landscaped and the engineering department who wants everything cut down and kind of ugly, I guess, because, these kind of things cause problems with site visibility. Like you said, it's always a struggle. So we've got to work together when we put together the landscape plans to make sure we have site visibility triangles and such. But once that's approved, I hate to say it, the planning department's not out there every third day of the week monitoring it. So when we get these kind of complaints, our residents let us know, and we work with the landscape company and primarily the HOA to have these kind of things taken care of. The last time we were lucky enough to have some information provided by yourself as it related to those medians and some of the overgrowth, and we sent something out, and I think it was days, and they were already out there trimming everything.
Yeah.
So I think that this will be an easy fix, but again, I'm glad when we get public input on these types of issues.
Thank you. I make a motion we enter a contract with Zumar Industries to purchase various street warning information signs, as well as poles and poles accessories for all signage within the town of Florence, town limits, using the MCDOT cooperative contract 016136-C and 014105-C on file with the clerk's office, an amount not to exceed $35,000.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Item 10 is our manager's report. Ms. Lisa Garcia, do you have anything on behalf of Mr. Billingsley?
No, but I would like to inform the public and council that this is training and conference week, so I will be attending the League of Arizona Cities and Towns Conference with 5 members of council. Brian Hughes and his team will be attending the Parks Association Conference, as well as our Jennifer Evans will be away at conference. We'll be running on a skeleton crew. Ben Bittard will have feet on the ground, as well as Cliff Mattice, and we'll still be here serving our community proudly. And on another note, I just wanted to say how proud I am to live and work in the town of Florence. We have professional department heads, we have a wonderful, compassionate council, and we have a community and business owners in the community who always rally for support, and I couldn't be more proud to work here.
Thank you. Very well said. Leaving Ben and Cliff here to run the shop. You guys are going to do great. I have 100% confidence. This is our...
There won't be anybody here, but sure you guys take care of it.
What is it?
There won't be anybody here.
All right, so this is our second call to the public. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak at this time? Closing call to the public. Call to the council for current events only. Councilmember Hawkins?
Well, I'd just like to go along with the rest of the council on how proud I am to be part of the community. Also, when we can show results like we did on the peanut butter and jelly drive, that's amazing. For a town our size, we step up to the base when the times call for it. That's all I have.
Very well said. Councilmember Wall?
A couple of things. First, I'd like to thank our staff and Pinal County for putting together the acquisition or use of the CERT trailer at the Florence Fire Department, as well as the graffiti truck that the town will have access to. It's this type of cooperation and partnership that I think we appreciate very much. I also wanted to say thank you as best I can, because thank you just doesn't say enough for what came of a presentation by United Way a few meetings ago, where the Apache Junction and Casa Grande PB&J drive was mentioned, and Councilwoman Cordes just casually said, well, why aren't we part of that? And look at the results, and enough can't be said for the work that I know Councilwoman Cordes went to put this together, as well as motivating the entire town and businesses and public entities that put it all together. So I too am very proud of our community and the support that our Florence Unified School District children will have as a result. And that's all I have.
Well said. Councilmember Hughes?
Well done. Well done, Cordes. I'm impressed.
Vice Mayor Anderson?
Yes, one other thing about the search truck that's got finished and stocked. We also were told this last week that part of our support from FEMA is also supplying us a trailer, and the trailer is here. It's down at the Pinal County storage unit at the airport, and it's being stocked. The difference between the truck and the trailer, the truck will be used primarily to support our fire department. It'll have cooling stations in it, ice, cooling supplies where we go out, and we will support our local fire department. The trailer, since we're part of the county CERT program, will be used more for larger emergencies, brush fires, things like that. We'll have blanket stuff that we can actually, try to help people who are in need. So we're sort of lucky to get that. I was telling the chief, we just need to figure out a way to get a truck now to pull the trailer with. But things are going well there. I'm so proud of what the town's done here with the PB&J drive. We just need to thank everyone. And it's, I told somebody that I was surprised, and they said, well, you shouldn't have been. We shouldn't be surprised at these kind of things. So we do have such great people here in Florence that we don't always recognize. Thank you, though.
Thank you. Councilmember Cordes?
See, I can talk up here. It's when you put me down there, I'm like, oh my gosh. I just want to again thank the public for rallying with us and helping us do this. It wasn't just one person. It took all of us and our connections with each other and our other friends and family outside of the state or on the other side of the state and business partners. It took all of us to do this. So it's just awesome. I'm excited to see what next challenge we take on, because I know we'll be able to pull it off, just like we did this one. Again, just in case somebody missed it, it is 6,304 jars. That is why this trophy's sitting here. And then I also attended the school board meeting last week, and It was really nice to go and see they've had some big changes in administration at some of the schools. Quite a few positions opened up or switched around, but everyone came from within our school district. They promoted from within, and so that was really nice to see. Their numbers have increased by 560, roughly almost 600 students. They saw an increase. So they're working really hard at trying to make sure that they can do the best for all students, and I think this will help alleviate some of the issues that maybe they have when kids are sitting there hungry. So thank you.
Councilmember Larson?
I hate to echo the same sentiments, but I feel I need to say that I shouldn't be surprised by what's in front of us here. But it is surprising to see. I feel that it's a physical manifestation of what our community is, and I couldn't help but tear up when you guys were talking about that down there, about what community means. And I feel that this is what Florence is, that when there is an issue, when there is a problem, people will run to your door to help. People will step up to the plate. There's not one person, everybody comes and rallies around any type of project. Or I know I've had life changes myself, and the way that the community just stepped up and helped, this is it. They do it. So it makes it personal for me just to see this. So thank you for putting it together and for showing them physically what it looks like. So thanks.
This is some fancy peanut butter and jelly up here, I just want to say. And I need to know where they bought it from.
Restaurant Supply.
I have a question about it. Someone was asking me, who is going to furnish the bread?
So the theory and the concept is peanut butter and jelly is, it's more expensive than a loaf of bread. A loaf of bread, typically you can pick it up 79 cents, 99 cents. And a lot of our food banks, as well as even some of our churches that run food banks, they have actually a bread bank where they can come on up and pick up some bread too. So maybe we can facilitate that partnership where if somebody doesn't pick it up, then maybe they can give to the school district to help put it in the backpack. So that's a great thing that you just brought up because that just came in my head.
Well, I know some of the stores used to give away day-old bread.
They do. They give it, that's where the churches get their bread banks from.
That's what I thought, yeah.
I would like to ask council if we could all take a picture before we all leave, though.
Absolutely. Speaking of stepping up, I want to thank Councilmember Hawkins, as well as our chiefs and Lisa Garcia. Today was the 150th celebration picture for the United States Post Office. So I have an envelope gift that they provided for everybody that I will hand out with the commemorative stamp on here. So just a neat little piece of history, and I want to thank you, Councilmember Hawkins, for being able to do that today. I'm really impressed with our peanut butter and jelly drive. This is phenomenal, and as everybody said, we pull together like family in our community. So well done, everybody. Can't wait to see the upcoming challenges that come. With that, Lisa Garcia did say we are going to be at our league conference this week. We're hoping to be able to learn a lot of great things and bring them back to our community. With that, I need a motion.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.